Hello everyone, it's Jenna here, and I'm going to be creating an art journal page in just 10 to 15 minutes today to show you how in just a small amount of time you can spend time with the Lord and connect with Him. So I'm recording this video on Good Friday, and I plan to use this image of Jesus on the cross as a reference to draw something like this. And I'm starting by collaging down some newspaper that I have decorated with some bubble wrap printing and various mark making. So I'm just sticking this in the background really, just to add some interest without really thinking about it too much. I just wanted some neutral papers in the background. And I'm also creating this page as part of a Lent course run by the wonderful Rachel Evans-White, where we've been looking at the last 7 sayings of Jesus leading up to his death on the cross. And the saying that I'm particularly thinking about is when Jesus said, "I am thirsty," and he was offered some sour wine to drink. And I'm creating this page on the back of the page that I did about Jesus considering the joy beyond the suffering of the cross. So that little red splodge that is on the page, it already is bleed through from the heart from my previous video that you might want to check out. So I love the connection between the 2 pages that is already there, that the joy and the love and the compassion of Jesus is already bleeding through onto this page. So you've just watched me add some white gesso to the page with a piece of cardboard, just scraping it around, and that's just to knock those collage pieces back into the background a bit. And now I've got my black Stabilo all pencil, and I'm trying to draw that outline of Jesus on the cross very quickly and crudely with a rather blunt pencil. But nevertheless, I'm going for it anyway, just to do my best to get that figure onto the page. And so I'm thinking about this moment when Jesus called out to say that he is thirsty. And it's not really something that I've particularly dwelled on before. A moment when Jesus expresses his need. And I'm using some sepia ink here to represent that sour wine that Jesus was offered to drink, offered up to his mouth, but it wasn't much use to him. It didn't refresh him in any way. And yet it wasn't too long ago that Jesus was talking about thirst in a different context and saying that if anyone is thirsty, they should come to him and drink. And I wonder whether part of his expression of thirst in this moment is to remind us of that, to remind us that thirst is satisfied in him. And he said that if we believe in him, then streams of living water would flow out of our innermost being, that not only our thirst would be quenched, but that we would be able to offer that living water to others. And this was the moment where Jesus becomes the living water to us. In his death, we live. And so I'm thinking about the living water coming from Jesus at this moment. And obviously, after he died, his side was pierced and blood and water came rushing out. And I'd never really connected that moment back to this living water coming from our innermost being that he talked about earlier. But I'm thinking about the parallels with that at the moment. So as well as the wine coloured sepia ink, I'm adding in some metallic blue ink now to represent the blood and the water, the wine, all the metaphors for wine that come in the Bible, that Jesus is the new wine. The water into wine at the wedding was his first miracle. And of course, the Last Supper, where Jesus takes the wine and says, "This is my blood of the new covenant for the forgiveness of sins." And as I let this ink move around the page and dragged it about with the tip of the dropper, I was thinking how it looked like branches, maybe branches of the vine, thinking about Jesus's teaching, "I am the vine," of how we're grafted in, which of course links back to the wine. Or maybe roots of a tree, and how we're told to be rooted in Christ. Or even some cracks appearing in the ground as if there was an earthquake, which of course there was when Jesus died on the cross, representing this momentous earthquake in the history of mankind. And also how it looks like tributaries of a river going out into a dry land, taking that living water out into the world. And this water that he promises us to drink, that means we will never be thirsty. So I'm just taking a wet brush now and going back over the figure of Christ that I'd drawn with my Stabilo oil. So that is water soluble, and adding the water is turning it into more of a paint or an ink and giving more depth and definition on this figure. And you can even dip the pencil into the water and use it like that. I also really wanted to add some words to this page, and I noticed that the newspaper that was left over actually had most of the letters of the word thirsty on it staring at me. So I cut those out, and the only letter that was missing was the R. So I thought about what to do about this for a while, and then I thought that the R could be R for rivers. So I took this as an invitation to write the word rivers on the page, and the verse from John about rivers of living water flowing from us. I'm sorry I'm off screen here, but I'm writing of living water just along one of the ink flows down the bottom, and at the top here I'm writing my word for the year, which is actually flow. And I'm thinking about the flow that happened on the cross, how Jesus took into himself that bitterness, that sin, shame, pain, the wrath of God, and how he poured out to us forgiveness, love, reconciliation, and healing. So thank you for watching me create this journal page. I hope it's inspired you to have a go. I post one every Tuesday, so please subscribe so we can keep in touch. God bless.